What he wanted us to do was to have that conversation here tonight and relay that to him so that he would have the information. I wasn't comfortable just as an individual relaying what an unofficial body had decided that they wanted done for memorialization. I didn't think that was appropriate.
If you read the charter, there's various types of committees that this board can form. And one type of committee is what he's called a special and temporary committee. Those are recruited. That's 18 months long. But you can also have additional appointed boards and commissions established by ordinance, and those can last 4 years.
They can last forever. They are done by ordinance, and so they become a law and official thing.
Absolutely. And I would recommend that this commission be established by ordinance, because mainly the 250th anniversary is 2.5 years away. So we really need a committee that would span the whole 2.5 years. Also, there's going to be a lot of funds involved in this committee, $75,000 maybe, and the funds, as we discussed in that committee, will be managed by the treasurer. It will be a special fund, and this will allow businesses or individuals who contribute to get tax breaks. So I would not want to go through the process of reestablishing the committee or extending the committee. I'd like to see it permanent until at least December 2018. So I have a different type of committee.
So a commission wouldn't last until December of 2018 or January of 2019. A commission would be there, and it would be the 250th celebration commission forever, or until we repeal the ordinance.
You can establish a committee by ordinance
and then repeal the ordinance.
Repeal the ordinance.
Either that, or we can sunset it in the establishment ordinance.
Well, what would be easier from a process perspective would be the establishment of a committee which lasts 18 months and can be renewed for an additional 18 months, which is all you need.
Okay.
And that shaves time, allows that group to start working in a more official capacity without having to go through the town meeting process and then the application. You know, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. It just allows things to happen a little bit sooner from a real, like, let them get to work kind of perspective. It's my perspective.
Okay.
I'm not married to it. I don't, one way or the other, I don't care. That was just.
And I'm not married to it either, but I just wanted to put out an alternative.
I like the idea of starting the committee for the 18 months and get their charge, at least try to put together tonight, and the composition of that team. You said you had a lot of people there, Jason, so.
About 18 counting the selectmen, 15 that were not on the board, which was fantastic. And I know there are others who were interested who weren't able to be there, which was, I was really, really happy. So my thought would be, in terms of membership for the actual voting members of a committee or commission, it's got to be an odd number.
Right.
Given that there were 15 people already who showed up, 15 I think is a high number, but I think certainly 9 would be a reasonable number. Is there anybody who thinks that's too high or too low?
Are you reading my notes? That's what I was going to say if you gave me a minute, but I got a few comments. 9 members. We also need to give them a small budget to get started. I mean, we can't just make this happen out of the air. I think we're going to have to kick a little money in to get this thing flying. The charge would probably be planned for the festivities and carry out the same. Allow them to have subcommittees for various functions and report back to the main committee. All funds and expenses have to go through the main committee for authorization, either disbursements or receipts, and all monies will be handled by the town treasurer. I think those things really need to go in.
What about leftover money?
Huh?
Leftover money.
You could discuss that and recommend it to the selectmen, or there was talk about that that any leftover monies would be put aside in a special fund for the 300th anniversary, and properly invested, they might have a little money to get something done without having to start from nothing, thanks to them. I think that might be a very wise idea.
Can we have alternates on the board or not?
You know, again, I'm good either way. Dick seems to be
No,
strong in
I think
favor
you
of
got 9
against.
people, you should be able to get a
Yeah.
quorum together.
Okay.
Let's keep it small, simple, and get it done.
Now, should,
We're burning daylight, as they say. We're already about a year and a half late. Some of this stuff takes a year's lead time
now, should
to
we,
even put it together.
should we leave it to the committee's discretion, or should we establish the number of times per month they would get together?
I
They're
really-
gonna have to give us the date and
Yeah,
time.
they'll have to file
They'll
with the
have-
town clerk
yeah.
and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and that's one of the downsides about going through as a town group, is that they'll have to record minutes, they'll have to post agendas, they'll have to be publicly warned, all that stuff.
Thanks.
What's that?
Thanks.
You want to do that?
Yes.
That could be
You would
whatever
always
you
cancel
want.
a meeting,
I don't want to make that a mandatory,
but you can always cancel a
but
meeting.
need at least 6 times a year.
I don't think that's
Or
enough.
2 times a month, especially if it's Thursday,
you get them
I didn't hear what you said, how many times?
twice a month.
at least 2 times a month.
Yeah, just schedule a meeting, you can always schedule a special meeting if you need more. You can always just abandon a meeting if you just have no business, just say it's canceled. Just post 2 meetings a month.
Duly posted, it's a pain.
Well, and it's gonna be hard when you've got 9 people trying to set a schedule, so that'll be up to them
Well,
to do
that's
that.
why I didn't want to get that pushy. Just to go maybe one on one. When you get closer, you're gonna need every week. Don't forget now, somebody's got to keep notes. It's got to be filed with the town clerk. And probably some of the seed money that I mentioned is going to have to go for secretarial services, stenography services.
So I'm not sure I can think of anything else that we would need to include in order to create this. Does anybody else have any thoughts?
How many months between now and today, when this thing is supposed to take place?
How many months are there?
How many months would you say, how many is it?
22 to 34, depending on how you want to count.
18,
Yeah,
January
because
1st, 2018, I'm sure the River Committee's going to have their New Year's Day hike with this theme in mind. So the first event will be January 1st, 2018.
And so we will have to renew this. But that's okay. We do that with other things all the time.
18, 20 months?
24 months.
Yeah, well,
You're right back.
2.5 years.
It's 1.5 years.
You'd have to parade like we had the last time and all that.
And if
That's up to them.
the thing we got from Alan, they had events every month for that year, which is a great idea and great fundraising. And other committees like the Rotary Club, the Lions Club had an event. So it isn't dropped all onto one committee or one volunteer group. It's spread out. And like John said, it's a perfect thing. American River Heritage has their annual hike.
Great.
Yeah, great kickoff for our 250-year anniversary.
The way I see this committee operating is essentially the hub of a wheel. You know, there's going to be a lot of spokes and a lot of different people that are involved, and this group is going to bring together, 6 or 8 months worth of festivities to commemorate our heritage, and that's, they're not going to do it alone. One of the things that we learned when we went to Holland is that they had just in their celebration committee, they had I think they had 7 or 9 members that are part of it. But they had, was it 45 or 50 people who were involved in at least one of the subcommittees? So, if you're particularly good at writing press releases and that's all you want to do, great, we'll take it. And if you're particularly good at approaching businesses and fundraising and that's all you want to do, great, we'll take it. But it's going to be this celebratory steering committee, or whatever it's going to be called, that will be the central point and kind of making sure that the train's running on time and staying on the tracks. And there are some great people who have already stepped up and wanted to be a part of it, and it's going to be a fun project. I think think it's gonna be a really fun time.
Okay, do we have to make a charge then?
Well,
You have to do,
yeah, I was
make
gonna.
a charge and then the composition of the board.
You know,
My high-level charge is to plan, organize, and execute East Windsor's 250th anniversary. Dick spent some more details.
You take yours, Bob, and add the 9 members to it.
All right.
And
9 members to consist of,
Consist of 9 citizens from the town of East Windsor.
okay, so not necessarily from any board or commission, just
I
9
think so. I
citizens.
would hope the historical
Yeah.
society would be in on it.
I just want to make sure I understood, that's all.
I
That's
think
good.
we've got to kind of leave that as open to interested people.
9 members?
And, but it should be a notation on that somewhere in that charge that all funds will go through the main. The subcommittees are okay for them to form their own subcommittees to handle various projects. But all funding has to be approved through the main committee and all funds handled by the town treasurer.
So I can fake this.
That gives you your accountability.
And the leftover money could be brought to the
Well, you can do that.
Well, we need to check on what we can do with it.
We can, yeah,
We can do that.
we'll decide.
Since I'm already interrupting, I think we should make this the ordinance and keep this committee running right up to the 3 months. I'm a Horse Thieves and Robbers Society member. We've been in existence 218 years. We do nothing except have one meeting a year. So for the next 40 years, these guys have to do nothing but have a pizza and say that we don't have to do anything. Just for a hoop, it's kind of fun.
Maybe Rebecca will be
Well, that's a different way to go.
probably the
That would be, we
Then you
can't.
can drop down to one meeting a year.
Actually, what we could do is, we could propose an ordinance tonight and motion to move it to a special town meeting.
Well, we don't have the language for the ordinance.
Why? That way, we do.
You have the language?
All, close. It's just what I said, but, all right.
You know, we can always start the committee, we can always put it in by ordinance and transfer it over.
That's
too.
true.
I think that's,
Anytime within the 18 months, instead of rushing this.
Why don't we do that?
So what you're saying is establish it as a committee, and then if there's a need to roll it over to a
By
commission,
ordinance,
we
we
do that.
can. If there's that much money to carry over and you want to go and keep a permanent committee, so be it. Got plenty of time to do it.
Okay,
All right,
got the motion?
I'm gonna make it up as I go.
Wow. We
So-
might have to read it back.
Well, I'm gonna write
Write it up before you back your checks.
I speak softly and mumble, so
I'll make it look good.
I'm gonna, that would be a feat. I'm gonna crib the Fire Protection Services Committee one, but I move the following. Be it resolved that by the Board of Selectmen on this 5th day of July 2016, pursuant to Town Charter Section 7-4, Board of Selectmen hereby creates a committee known as the East Windsor 250th Celebration Committee, charged by the Board of Selectmen with planning and
Organizing and executing.
organizing and executing celebratory functions commemorating the 250th anniversary of the town. The committee shall report its findings and activities to the Board of Selectmen on a quarterly basis. The board shall be constituted by 9 members to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen.
And all funds will be handled by the treasurer and decided by the committee.
We can add that, certainly.
Yeah,
That would be
absolutely.
fine.
Need to do that. I think we should authorize them to have subcommittees too. I don't know if they can do that. We'll give them if we don't authorize it or not.
You got that, Dave? You want me to have this drafted up right? Okay.
We got it all down, no?
Yeah.
Or
Okay, I can
give
do
it
that.
written, I'll give it to you. Don't read.
Yeah, well, with the, so just, that's my motion. If there's a second, I'll discuss that and
Maybe
clean
she
this up.
can read it back.
If somebody will second me, I can
I'll
clean this up.
second it.
Okay, thank you. So, What I'll do is take the gist of that, and the bullet points that I took notes about were, whether it be a committee or commission, we've for now decided it's a committee. We've settled on 9 members. The charge is celebration activities, planning, organizing, and executing. We need to allow for the creation of subcommittee members, and we need to establish the number of meetings per month, so.
And also the finances. All funds will be handled by the treasurer, the town treasurer, and
So,
all expenditures will be approved by the committee.
so if I stick to the gist of that and email that to the first selectman and Dee, is everybody satisfied with what that would be? I'll get you the actual drafted language.
Yes.
Are we comfortable with that?
Yep.
I think she got most of it anyway.
Do we have a second?
We did.
Okay. Further discussion?
Beat that one up.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So much.
Okay, Bob. Now, should we authorize a small funding for this thing? Especially now when they're first starting.
Well,
They can't start with just nothing, unfortunately.
I agree with you. I think we can put it off for 2 weeks.
It doesn't matter, we gotta know. Well,
We
yeah.
might
because
as well know who's on the committee.
Oh, I don't, well,
Well,
So
see
if we,
I'm here.
if we put it off for 2 weeks, we still, that puts us the night before the next Board of Selectmen's meeting. We could actually turn this around like on
You
a
mean, no, the Board of Finance.
What did I say?
You said Board of Selectmen.
Us.
We meet the night before the Board of Finance because we can request from the Board of Finance, but they still have to approve it.
Right.
right.
That would be acceptable, but we won't officially have the committee made. But we could start, we do have some
Now
volunteers.
that we voted on this, we can solicit membership and they actually can get people to,
Yep.
And we're gonna meet July 7th. Are we gonna meet this Thursday?
Yeah.
So we-
that's
get
something else.
around. Yeah.
This Thursday, 7 o'clock at the Historical Society is another informal meeting of people who are interested. It'll be hopefully the last informal
It
meeting
will be informal.
before this group actually gets some legs underneath
It
it.
has been noticed.
I know we got a few people on it right here in this room who would like to be on.
There's-
We should go ahead and start it.
Well,
I don't know
fill
if
out
you
the
wanna wait.
applications. Yeah, we're gonna fill out the applications.
Would you bring some
I
applications?
will.
Take about a minute. That's
I'm
what you
gonna,
want to
can I
do.
throw some, one more thing? Put something in the paper that says you're forming this committee, so it gives everybody in town an opportunity, a shot at being one of the 9 members, as opposed to just bringing those applications back to the, to the.
But that's a good point.
Secret group. Just make sure everybody in town knows whoever wants to be on.
Has there been a JI story about this yet?
No, needs to be.
Yeah, that John Renton needs.
Now that you guys did this and you're talking about money, and the next unofficial meeting, we get Anthony there at that meeting.
Yeah, I'll call him on the way to work tomorrow. Let's see if he can come on Thursday.
And then anybody that wants to be on this committee of the 9, hopefully you guys get to pick through 50 applications.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Because then you can pick, I don't want to say pick and choose, but you can pick strong, suited individuals in 9 categories instead of having 9 of the same. So just throwing it out there.
I don't think we're allowed to be on it. I think the 5 of us are precluded. But I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure, but
Actually, probably not.
I don't think so.
Probably
Now that I read Josh's opinion on the fire district, I bet we could be on it.
Yeah.
Good question for Josh.
I think he's answered it on the fire tax.
Yeah.
Fire
Could be on the
district
fire
thing
tax.
already answers it, John.
It'd be nice to have the board of selectmen person.
One
Or
person.
liaison.
Probably somebody young.
Yeah, it could be
I
another.
am not raising my damn hand.
Yeah, you might make the next one.
Yeah,
You should come. This is
we'll have
fun.
hopes.
I'm sure it
It's
is.
possible.
I work Thursday nights, but I make it.
Okay. Now, moving on to the next.
Before we get on to the, to new business, there are a couple of things on the, that are starred under unfinished, that we've finished. And I'm just wondering why they're still there.
Okay.
The sign policy, we discussed that, we voted on that. I'm not sure why that's still marked as
Okay,
unfinished.
I didn't know we voted.
I thought we had.
Well, we have to check the minutes.
Okay.
It was done at a meeting that I was not at.
You had talked about the Broadworth Mill site remediation, and there's going to be a public meeting on that, you said next month?
Right.
Okay.
Um,
We had also talked about inviting them, or asking them to come to a meeting of the Board of Selectmen, so we can impress upon them that we're still watching. Has that invitation been extended?
I've talked to them, and their answer was we're coming at the end of August, so. Their presentation will be to our.
Okay, so it'll be at our second August meeting.
Whether it be our second August meeting or first meeting in September, I think that's not a firm date. It's just a possibility.
Okay. And there was no, forgive me, I wasn't here, but there was no action on the POCD?
No, Lori wants to present it, so she's gonna do it hopefully, well, definitely the 19th.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, now, discussing the formation of the East Windsor Fire Protection Committee. We have quite a detailed write-up from Josh Hawk's lab on that.
I just got this handed to me just when I got here.
Yeah, I just got it this afternoon.
So,
This came from the notes from the last meeting of that group, looking for, you guys didn't vote on this 2 weeks ago, right?
we didn't do anything because we didn't do the agenda, we weren't really,
No, at the last
Properly
selectmen's
formed,
meeting.
yes.
There was no actual action taken. There was just, it was just an informal chit-chat kind of a
Right,
thing. Okay.
yes.
So, based on what Dale, you had sent with your notes from that meeting and what the objective of it was, and again, I was basing totally on that. This is what Josh came back with, and he answered Bob's question about whether or not he, as the first selectman, could sit on the committee as a
Right.
voting member. And the answer to that is there's no reason why not.
why not, right?
So between the answer to that question and then the language that was necessary to create the East Windsor Fire Protection Services Committee, or however, whatever we want to actually title that. Why no services? Why is that?
Because we decided, actually we voted on it. It was East Windsor.
When?
May, at the last select meeting, or we kind of agreed on it. But that's okay. Maybe it's not in the minutes.
I'll make copies.
Well,
Well, I thought,
I'm not very sure, but we said, I like it. It's East Windsor Fire Protection Committee. I don't see any for services.
All right.
fire protection. That worked
So
well.
at any rate, this came about based on notes that Dale had shared with me that have now been drafted in the language that was necessary to actually create this. So you guys are free to go ahead and do that.
Did we, East Windsor Fire Protection Committee is what we talked about, and we decided that that kind of took in the whole town, right? Okay.
Dee, you have a copy of this?
Of what?
The,
Yes, I do.
okay, so the
Here's-
suggested motion, just to make your life a little bit easier, is on page 2, and it is the third paragraph through the 6th paragraph.
Be it resolved by the Board of Selectmen on this day, the 5th of July, 2016, that pursuant to the Town Charter, Section 7-4, the Board of Selectmen hereby creates a committee known as the East Windsor Fire Protection Services Committee, charged by the Board of Selectmen with evaluating the tax treatment of residents within the Warehouse Point Fire District and the town of East Windsor. I think it should have been the fire district and,
Well, actually, I like the fluff around this.
okay,
But
all
I
right.
don't like the details. Well, one quick detail is, and this is just my opinion, so certainly somebody else can change it, but in the third paragraph, it says the formal report to the Board of Selectmen on or before November 1st, 2016. Well, actually, I think it should end on July 1st, 2017. That's when this, our current fiscal year ends, and the next one starts.
But the budget process starts in December.
And that's right, and we were still, this year, all through the budget process, even up to the last budget process, there was some question that people were involved in voting on whether we wanted to put the line item in there. So I think the charge isn't to come back with a plan. This committee, in my opinion, should actually be the committee that decides what approach they're gonna take, and I think the initial thing we have to do is some kind of an approach that takes a vote, whether it's to make East Windsor an entire, one fire district, whether it's to.
There are 4 or 5 different things on the
So,
table.
something's gonna take a vote, and so,
But we also have to have, if we do point A and it doesn't succeed, what do we do for point B?
right,
And so on and so forth. And that the committee hasn't sat down and done yet
No.
because we were not charged until we do this
right.
meeting right now.
Right, okay, so what I say is, I want to see the committee do it all, and report to us, yeah, what they're doing, they can report to us weekly, or, well, not weekly, but once a month or twice a month, and what they're doing, but I want them to do it. We can give them suggestions, but I want it to be their committee.
And that's exactly what the intent was, because who knows better to take care of the fire department than the guys that do the job. So that's why so many will be
Right.
on the board, because of what they do for a living. They can better take care of, their own house by having firefighters.
And also, I gotta say this, it's one of my favorite quotes. Einstein said, the formation of a problem is often more important than the solution. And right now, we're at the point where we have to formulate the problem. What's the problem? And I think that's up to the committee to decide. And then, how we're gonna solve it will come out of what the problem is we're actually
And
trying to solve.
that's in this charge.
So I would like to, but maybe you're saying no. Maybe we want to have a sooner date. But
Late November 1st is absolutely ideal.
okay.
Because of the same thing, the budget process is
Budget
going to start,
process.
Bob. We gotta start at the beginning, not wait until we get the budget all put
I
together.
would like that
for public
committee,
hearings.
I would like that committee coming right in to see me in December and saying, listen, nothing's happened here. The only thing we can do is put the warehouse point, money for the warehouse point back in the budget. And who knows, I might say.
We're looking at hopefully getting a decision made by the board and start to formulate it and start to matriculate and try to figure out the best way. Because if you do A, then you have to do B. There's a lot involved, and I think the board members that are already been put on, probably, and 4 of them, 5 of them are out in the audience now. So I think that we're gonna have a plan. So,
Okay, well,
with that said, I'm gonna finish the whole charge. Okay, where was I? Okay. The East Windsor Fire Protection Services Committee, charged by the Board of Selectmen with evaluating the tax treatment of residents within the Warehouse Point Fire District and within the town of East Windsor, and to assess fire and safety services and their potential costs, revenue options, and to recommend any changes of the status quo if deemed necessary or appropriate. The committee shall report its findings to the Board of Selectmen on or before November 1st, 2016. The committee shall be constituted by the following members: 2 members from the Board of Selectmen, 2 members from the Warehouse Point Fire District, 2 residents who are members of the Broadbrook Fire Department, 1 member from the Board of Finance, and 2 members at large that would be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. The East Windsor Fire Protection Services Committee shall cease its existence after its submission of the formal written report to the Board of Selectmen on or before November 1st, 2016, unless said committee is extended by further resolution of the Board of Selectmen. Let's see. That's
Okay,
it.
now,
That's it.
the charges were discussed a above the motion too.
So I'll second the motion for discussion.
Your fire, when you're, on your description of your fire protective committee starts on the first page, goes to the second. Is this part of the charge, really? Or not?
The charge is in the motion. The preceding page is background.
Well,
Right?
the background in the proceeding is missing one of the options.
Yeah, it's not limited.
Okay. As long as it's not limited. Because the option of having an East Windsor Fire Department isn't in there, and it should be.
Well,
One fire department, that's the end.
there are 4 or 5 things on the table right now, and that's one of them, but until this board is actually formed and charged, they can't do anything. So the charge is out there, the composition of the board is out there. We've got I made the motion. Dick, I think, did you second it?
I did.
Jason.
Jason did.
The only other thing I would say is the 2 members of the large from the, appointed by the Board of Selectmen, one should be from this side of town, one should be from the taxpaying side of town.
Good point.
I mean, we don't want 2 from over here or 2 from
No,
over there.
that's fine, we can add that.
And other than that,
No Ds and Rs in this thing, is there?
no.
There will be minority representation.
I'm still not comfortable with what it says, that the charge is to recommend any changes to the status quo if deemed necessary. I want them to affect the changes, not
They don't-
recommend the changes.
They don't have the power to do that. So
Board of Selectmen.
let's say, I'll throw a couple of for instances on the table to illustrate why they can't do it. Let's say that the subcommittee decides that they are going to expand the Warehouse Point Fire District to cover the entire town. That's not something that this committee would have the power to do. That's a recommendation that they could make to us to move that process forward. Let's say the recommendation is, what's the other extreme?
2 fire districts.
They want to create a second fire district. That's also not something that they can do. That still needs to come, we're the policy-making board.
Okay. but
They can give us, they can tell us what they
can't
think we
wait.
should do.
If we're gonna have an election, we've gotta get going on it real fast.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I actually think November 1st may be pushing it a little bit. Because of whatever the solution is, as I said in my selectmen's report last week, whatever the solution is likely to take time. So waiting until a final report on November 1st, I would encourage them to be
And also-
quicker on the dime than that.
We discussed that the way this is presented to the public is going to be very important. And this is a major solution. We now, here in East Windsor at this time, have a chance to change something and fix something that's been broken for a long time. And we can easily mess it up. And I like what the person said at the prior meeting, that we have to focus on the strengths of our fire department and the good things that they do and how, and I can't really name them all, but they're very important to this community. They give as much as they can. They're volunteers, and it's only a matter of time before we're going to be paying a lot more for paid firemen, so more power to them, and this community has to come together and support them. So this committee is doing more than just giving a recommendation to the board, because I know that I'm not going to get out there and develop these arguments and present this charge that they'll have for their solution. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to applaud them and help them all I can, but I've got other things to do too. But I think the committee that we formed is really wants to get a solution, and they're going to back it up. So I think they've got to do more than just recommend to us, and maybe they will on their own. But I don't know if
They
they
have to more than recommend.
they can't do
That's
more.
it.
They don't have
That's
to.
all we can do.
Okay.
But I
Because
do
this
agree
board-
with Jason, you know, even November 1st might be too late for the next budget cycle.
Yeah, on reflection, that's a termination date. They'll be quicker than that, I'm
I
sure.
would hope it'd be a lot quicker.
But because that is a termination date, that actually lends strength to what Bob is saying about the need for them to essentially play a salesman role after a decision is arrived at.
Because if you should try to create a second district or even to expand the district, there's a lot of legal notice, and a lot of things have to be done. Public hearings, public votes, you're not gonna do it in a week.
We know that, and that's why we're trying to get this
You need
charge
to- you
and
need to
committee
really-
formed tonight before I grow old.
You certainly hashed it out.
Been hashed out a
Okay,
long
do we
time.
make any comments on
We're making comments.
that? And so, whose idea is it for this fire protection?
John Coughlin wrote this up.
Yeah, but whose idea, who brought this to the
I did.
attorney? You did?
I did too, Jason, yes,
I
after.
did. Dale gave me the notes from the meeting and asked that it get drafted up in a, in a
After we
meeting
had our
session.
informal meeting.
In my opinion, this is gonna do nothing more but muck up the waters the way they are already with the fire district. Okay, you're gonna have people on here, citizens that have no idea about finance, what the costs are to run this thing. It's just another committee that's gonna muck everything up.
Well, we,
Okay, we don't, you know, I don't get it. We keep making these committees, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on, okay? We got a fire district that shouldn't even be happening. And here you are, you want to get a committee together to recommend, well, maybe we should make the whole damn town a fire district.
there's no presupposition about what the outcome will
Okay?
be from my
I
perspective.
won't vote for this, I'll tell you right now, you won't get my vote tonight on this, because this is just another thing that's prolonging the inevitable.
So-
okay? No, you got too many committees in this town, everybody's arguing, everybody's trying to make a decision, a lot of people don't even know what they're talking about, okay? You say, I don't know what I'm talking about, but at least I know business a little bit.
Isn't that incumbent upon us as the appointing authority to make sure that we're appointing people to this committee that actually would have a clue?
I don't think we need a committee.
Well, that's
All
different.
right, I don't think we need a committee. All right, they've already got their fire district, they're gonna get their tax, let it ride, and then let the people down in Warehouse Point figure out what they wanna do after they get the tax bill.
I think that that's putting our head in the sand. We know that they're already being double taxed. So that's not fair to the people in the district.
Well,
And
then
besides
let
that-
them take care of it. They can take care of it, very simply.
We need, as has been said before, the fire districts have been, the fire departments have been under budgeted for many, many years. That's what got us to the point where we're at today. If the fire district, one or two, both, all, one, whatever, they will have the right to raise their own money and
They have that
tax.
right.
They have it.
And they'd be able to also pay their own bills. They would not be part of the town anymore. They would be their own entity. Any liabilities, any payroll taxes, any comp, anything, they're responsible. The town washes their hands. I think it leaves a lot less liability on the town, and let the people who know what the hell they're doing do their jobs.
No, Dale, you're a great person, but you gotta go backwards. The town will be abdicating their responsibility for providing public safety to the citizens in town if they let that happen.
Well, and that may be an outcome of this
Yeah.
committee, but
We can't just ignore this situation. If we didn't fund the district, how the hell has it survived for the last 30 years?
I didn't say we didn't fund it.
And you don't see, I haven't seen any wheels falling off the trucks, I haven't seen the ladders breaking. I
so,
mean, it's there. I agree there's a problem taking care of the buildings, but there's also accountability issues.
so from my perspective, there is at least the presumption of a disparate situation depending on where you live. There's people who.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So there's a problem that needs to be fixed, or at least talked about. And I think that this allows for the right people to get around the table and make a recommendation to us about what that fix should be. I don't have any predisposed opinions or conclusions about the answer is X. You know, they may, I have my favorite idea, but they may come back when all is said and done and make a very compelling argument for something else. And at that point in time, that's when we'll have to make that decision. But I think we do need to let them have an opportunity to sit around and hash that out and figure out a plan. I think to say that, you know, we didn't make the problem, so let them fix it, really is shorting our constituency as well. I mean, we're elected town-wide. These, you know, we all live in, except for Bob, we all live in the Broadbrook, outside of the Warehouse Point district, but that doesn't mean that we don't have an obligation to those people who live in it.
I'm in the Warehouse Point.
Well, yeah, you're a property.
Steve's double
30
check.
acres of
That's
industrial
right,
property.
you're right. But my point though is that there is a perception that there's a problem that needs to be addressed, and this is a mechanism to allow people to have the conversations that they may need to have. And maybe the conversation is, the system that we have now is the way that we want to do it, we're done. Or we want to go back to the way it was done last year or the year before. Or we want to create a town-wide district or a separate district. I don't know. I don't know anything about this, but they're going to tell us what they think is the most reasoned conclusion, and I think we need to let them have that opportunity.
I don't know why we need a committee to tell us what they're doing, and we're gonna be the final deciders anyway.
Well, we are the final deciders, but I like to make an informed decision, and quite frankly, there are intricacies to this that I don't have any experience dealing with, that I'm gonna be looking to them to provide some color commentary on.
Jason, you got one thing you're a little misguided on.
I'm sure there's more
We
than
can't
one.
do anything to the Warehouse Point Fire District. We cannot tell them to do anything.
That's true,
Believe it or not.
that's true.
They are all by themselves. They're in a little town of Warehouse Point, might as well say. It's not a town, but they do as they choose. They're sovereign. So we can sit here and huff and puff and do anything we want. And you know what it is? The people that got hit with that extra tax bill are gonna cure the problem whether we do or not.
Well, they very well may. I just don't want them to do it.
One way or the other. Either they're gonna agree to this whole thing, which means that they were really underfunded, or they're not. One way or the other, we're gonna have a fire department. You know, I can't picture the guys in Warehouse Point throwing their hat in. It's not a problem. And I
And I-
wouldn't wanna break it up.
I think that you raise good points that are worthy of consideration, but I think that that's a step or two removed from setting this up and letting those people figure out what they want to tell us they think the best outcome is. And I like the idea of having a cross-section of people, not just from the fire district or not just from the department, but, you know, who have different strengths that they're able to bring to that discussion. And whatever they're going to tell us, we'll talk about it then, but I think this is, I don't see why we wouldn't allow that opportunity.
Would you consider moving the October 1st, changing it from November to October 1st, drop that date to get a little more time?
What I would consider and would be happy to see is a reporting date of October 1st, but extend the life of the committee to allow them to do what Bob was talking about, which is to actually make the sales pitch when we have to do whatever public hearings are going to be necessary.
That's a very good, that's all right, I'd go with that.
So-
That's fine.
So I would then amend, is this my motion? Anybody can amend a motion. It's fine.
Go ahead.
So, so I would, the committee shall, I would change in the first paragraph to read the second to last sentence, the committee shall report its findings to the Board of Selection on or before October 1st. And I would extend the committee in the third paragraph so that the paragraph would read, the East Windsor Fire Protection Committee shall
Yeah.
cease its existence after its submission of a formal written report to the Board of Selectmen, a formal final report written to the Board of Selectmen
Okay.
on or before
December 1st.
March 1st, 2017. Give, you know, push it out if they need to terminate
No,
earlier.
I
they
think you're
can.
pushing it too far out, Jason.
That's just,
If
you know.
you're in a March 1st, we're never gonna be able to, probably won't be able to put anything together in time to get it in the budget.
So what date would you like? I'll go with whatever date you
December
like.
1st.
Done.
No, we want you to leave it on November 1.
No, because.
Because we start right after,
We can vote.
we start this thing, the budget process starts right after the first of the year, really.
Yeah, no.
I move those amendments.
I'll second it.
That's why you don't want
So where are we at now?
to move the
It's
question.
hard to say.
We're forming the committee, And we're going to have them submit a written report to us not later than October 1st. And the committee will terminate on or before December 1st unless we extend it.
So when are we making these appointments?
Next, whenever we can.
Have to be the next selectmen's meeting or call a special one.
Well, this, you know, Mr. Burnham made a good point about the 250th committee, that it's good to cast a wide net. We should do the same with this, especially for at-large members.
Yeah, we're gonna have 9 members?
9 members, 2
9
from the Board of
members total.
Selectmen, 2 from the Warehouse Point Fire District, 2 residents who are members of the Broadbrook Fire Department, 1 member from the Board of Finance, and 2 members at large to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen from each part of town. each
One from
district.
each part of town.
2 members from the Warehouse Point Fire District. Yeah, you mean the commission? Fire
District,
district is half the town.
Department.
yeah, district.
Yeah,
All your commissioners live in the district.
yeah, they have to.
So you're not asking for any commissioners specifically.
Is there a need to?
And they're pretty well informed.
Well, yeah, but I mean, by,
They could get bumped by an at-large Warehouse Point district person.
are we not, who's appointing this? Is it us?
2 from the Warehouse Point Fire District. Should be probably read 2 commissioners.
Well, or 2 fire department.
Well, you could have a member from the commission and a member from the fire department if
That
you
would be
guys wanted
okay,
to.
yeah. Well,
Or you could have 2 commissioners, take your choice.
Can we just leave it as the departments and let that roll where it may? There might be someone that has got a little more power in one area than the other. I don't think we need to micromanage. I think what we need to do is just let them,
No, John makes a,
I know you want to be.
No, no. You really need to have some representation from the Board of Commissioners of the Warehouse Point Fire District.
okay.
Yeah.
John's 100% right. They are the decision makers.
So we
Those
would,
2 people should be from the commission.
we would amend paragraph 2 to say 2 from the Board of Selectmen, 2 from the Warehouse Point Fire Commission,
Yeah, right.
2 residents who are members of Broadbrook, 1 member from the Board of Finance, and 2 members at large, 1 from
Each
within the
part of
district
town.
and 1 from outside the district,
You know, so that net you talk about, it's only trying to catch 2 people.
I guess.
Yeah, that's okay. So we'll catch them in the next week, 2 weeks. I'll put good bait.
This has gone off the rails.
Motion
No, I think
made,
it's pretty good. I
seconded,
think we
motion amended, seconded.
So we're
Right?
gonna go for the amendment first.
That's true.
It's
So,
already
okay.
here.
All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye,
Okay. Now, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Wow, we've got a committee.
Opposed.
Good.
Bob, you didn't ask for the names.
Sorry.
Steve? Steve?
And you did. Okay, so we've dispensed with new business, now we're moving on to selectmen reports.
So I'm up first. I have very little to report because I can't go anywhere. And that's going to be the case for the next couple of meetings. I can't drive, so I'm going to be doing this largely on what I'm able to get to. But last Thursday, as we talked about the first organizational meeting of an unofficial group to plan the 250th anniversary of the town of East Windsor met at the Historical Society. There were about 15 people there, excluding selectmen, and it was a really, really great, positive first meeting. There's certainly a lot of work to be done, and anyone willing to contribute some of their talent to this effort would be welcomed. The next meeting is going to be this Thursday at 7 o'clock at the Historical Society. And then the only other thing that I'd like to talk about is the news I shared, the good news I shared about the Barber Hill School preservation efforts. As we discussed, I'll ask that we approach the title insurance company to see about moving that project forward, which would be, that would be a really good thing. That's all I have. I hope to have more next time.
Okay, Ms. Gale is.
Yes, I'm next. Okay. I too went to the 250th committee with Jason and Bob. Jason already covered, so let's not do it again. Planning and Zoning Commission was a rather short meeting and very interesting, the 28th of June. They had 3 applications that they received, which will be put at the next meeting. One, Showham Road transfer. Second one was 54 Newberry Road for a change of use on vehicle and automotive sales. And the third one was on 9th Plantation Road for an accessory apartment. I'm in business. They had a discussion with Kalmar Enterprises. It seems like the East Windsor age-restricted development was written for basically single unit or large parcels of land. Kalmar is proposing 1 building plus garages, which will be a couple of stories tall, and will be just basically 1 building. So the setbacks and a lot of things really don't work out well for them on the particular site. They needed a change of the definition because they wanted to offer 2-bedroom units in addition to 1, which will still be age restricted.
That's a change in the
Text
zoning
change,
regulation?
no, text change, which is basically a change in the zoning regs. To kind of update it for multiple, for 1 building.
Not the ordinance, though. It's not a change in the
No,
ordinance.
it's not a change in the
Okay.
ordinance, it's a change in the definitions, or a change in the text. Not in a rural area being allowable, that's the text change that needs to be done. The density per acre of units needs to be addressed, obviously, because if it's in 1 building, it's not spread out. The minimum floor area, they actually want larger because of 2-bedroom. Storage, normally it's what, 1,400 cubic feet of storage or something per unit. Separate or whatever, well, as it turns out, their 4 designs that they normally use have storage within the units, so they'd like to get that clarified. There's a little bit of a height needed because they need a full 3 stories, where Mill Pond is like 2.5. They do need the full 3. I guess they've already talked to the warehouse point fire marshal.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the question about the height
Yeah,
requirements, there are buildings in town that are taller than 3 stories.
absolutely.
So is that just a zoning component based on where
Well,
they're zoned?
No, this is one of these things where when you go for this age-restricted housing, it's a whole different set of rules than the.
Okay. But like Hartfield, which is just down the road from
Absolutely.
that, that's 4.
Right, and that's well within the capabilities.
As well.
Sure, they don't have any problem, or Jim would be up in the air hollering. And he'd be right. If he does, I'm sure he will. Setback, they need some adjustment because they don't want the buffer zone between the building and the parking. With the older people, they like to get the parking closer to the building. It works out better. Lot coverage and landscape design need to be addressed. They'll be making a video presentation at the next meeting showing some of their developments that they already have, some conceptual ideas for this parcel and warehouse point. I think it's going to be really interesting and educational. I would advise anybody that could and might want to accept it. I think you'd be very happy with it. I hope. And for that, I shut up.
Good deal. You're up if you want.
I cut in front of you today.
That's okay, I was making copies. Okay, 622, salute to Christopher Davis at Nutmeg Restaurant. I stopped by just to wish him well on his accomplishments. The event was very well attended, and congratulations. 622 at 7:30, Board of Education, Dr. Christine DeBarge discussed the curriculum report. Broadbrook Elementary School Grade 1 reading starts at early literacy, 1 word at a time, to star reading, and all have passed. Kindergarten went from 70% proficiency to 53%. This was attributed to over-testing. They discussed that at great length. They go on to tell about all the wonderful things that are happening in the schools. They also stated that the Alliance grant received replacing the toilets, removing the oil tank, air conditioning, heating, renovations to the kitchen and main office, flagpole and light to shine on the crosswalk, and flashing lights for the school to warn vehicles. That was a police grant that they got to do that. Farmers Market, 626 at the Trolley Museum. It opened up at 11 o'clock to 2 p.m. Great go down there and visit. Lots of fresh veggies, natural soap products, homemade bread, and they had entertainment the other day. It was really very well done. Rubber ducky race and cardboard boat race. The filter beds were really, really low, but that was still a lot of fun. Watching everybody chase around after these little yellow duckies and trying to get them going down the stream. Oh, gosh. Good time was had by all. Hopefully they raised some money and also supported the Five Corner Pantry. Housing Authority, 7 p.m., special meeting. They discussed the annual drinking water report done by Daryl Barkley, who's the maintenance supervisor. Water pass all tests. The balance sheet at the East Windsor Housing Authority is in good financial position. At this time, all units are occupied. The resident service report, coffee hour on Tuesdays is well attended. Bingo on Wednesdays, chair yoga on Thursdays. They had a great Flag Day celebration. The visiting nurses have been in. Hairstylist comes every 8 to 12 weeks. Okay. There was a public comment about one of the ladies having a problem with her refrigerator, and she lost some food, and she was asking for the committee to help assist her. 6:29, Special Warehouse Point Fire District Committee meeting at 7:30. This was a meeting we talked about we couldn't discuss anything, we couldn't vote on anything. We just had a heart-to-heart. One of the things that we talked about was discussion one of two districts, one fire district for the whole town, put Warehouse Point Fire District back on the budget, dissolve Warehouse Point Fire District. The discussion was going in all kinds of places. We ended up amending what even we decided to do here because we added 2 more commissioners. The decision is to hold a meeting on the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month. Location to be determined, and we'll get all that. 6:30, Rotary Spouse Night. It was a great evening. Dan Tarbell was presented as Paul Harris Award, which is the highest honor that you can receive as a Rotarian. It was pretty neat. 7:2, Family Day at the Reservoir. Melissa put in a lot of time, and her staff put in a lot of time. I don't know whether it was the fact that it was a long holiday weekend, whether it wasn't advertised well enough, but she had everything all set up. It just didn't turn out to be very many people, and it was really a shame because she had water safety, and then the fire departments were there, and the police, and I mean, it was just really great. But so that's it.
It was kept secret in town.
Pardon?
That was the best kept secret in town.
Okay, Steve?
I went by the reservoir, I saw the fire trucks, and I didn't know what they were doing, actually. I don't know if they were having show and truck day or something for the kids, I don't know. I seen the email. In the comments, this housing on North Road that they just talked about, it just seems to me that that is not the place for this. Doesn't seem like it belongs there in that business area. There's be a lot of problems with older people getting in and out of there. That traffic is horrible. Anybody that goes there in the morning knows all the different variances, zone text changes, and everything that they're gonna have to do for these people. Personally, I don't believe it should be here. They should go somewhere else in town if they want to do these things. The other thing I just want to mention, I hope everybody have a nice 4th of July. And the other thing I want to mention is I love coming in here and hearing my name mentioned about certain things. And it just tells me I'm a thorn in somebody's side. And I plan on being a thorn in that person's side for a long time to come. So I just love it. So anybody who wants to talk to me about me and here and this and that, go right ahead. It just makes me happy to come. That's all I gotta say.
I'm glad you're here. And I don't have very much either. I would say that we're getting a new phone system in the town hall. There's already one in the police department. And tomorrow, we're actually going to learn about it. We've got 3 2-hour sessions, and the phones, we should start using them probably at the end of the week. So we'll see how that goes. State of the art, and I'll report next board of selectmen meeting on the new phones. Okay.
Before we move on, I did omit one thing that somebody had asked me about. I got a message from someone who lives in the Warehouse Point district, very close to the town green. And the question came up as we're starting to contemplate the replacement of the Veterans Memorial. If there would be a way we could, for lack of a better way of putting it, do a better job cracking down on some of the loitering and some illegal activities that may be going on the town green. This is across from this woman's house, and she sees people who are doing really bad things they shouldn't be doing. So could you just mention that to the police chief to maybe
I will.
have somebody swing in there at random hours?
Yeah.
What?
They drive by.
Well, yeah.
Okay. There's no more comments, then we'll move on to public participation number 2.
Yeah, quick question. It's my understanding the town hall got a call in regards to the small city grant. Do you know if that's been approved tonight?
There is, in my understanding, it has been approved, but it hasn't been official. There's no, you can't make an official announcement at this time. It seems to be approved.
I just wanted to question it because the paper said one thing, and
I don't know what the paper said.
yeah, that it was 4 towns, and they said here, we see it on 4 towns.
Well, my understanding, and I had, what was it, I think it was probably Friday or maybe Thursday of last week. My understanding was that Larry Wagner, who was trying to get this grant, said something about it, that he believed we got a $600,000 grant for the housing authority. But it wasn't official, so. I'll have to wait for it to be official.
Second thing I have, I don't know if anybody's had an opportunity to read tonight's paper. It was probably the only time that I would have to agree with Steve on anything that was set up there in regards to this committee that's being formed. There's, in this article tonight, there's a lot of preconceived decisions made by people that are planning on being on that board. There's a lot of negativity, in my opinion, as I read this. I'm concerned, even before your commission gets started, and I'm not going to be affected by it as far as my taxes, but if anyone else is going to happen. There's $400,000. Bob's, according to the paper, and you don't know if the paper is accurate or not, that one of the options is to take the same amount of money as that Broadbrook has in their budget and put the same amount into the Warehouse Point budget, and then have the taxing authority by Warehouse Point to tax make up the difference. And it seems that at least some of the selectmen are in agreement with that. So to me, reading this, it's already a done deal. And I would hope that it's not, that we give the people the opportunity to win with a fresh, open mind, whoever's going to be on that commission, and do what's right by the town. Just because it's right by Broadbrook or right by Warehouse Point, it's got to be right by the town. That's all I ask. The second thing is, and I'll read it direct from the paper, it says, manager said the town should use a portion of $3 million that is currently set aside for road improvements and still have well over $2 million. The town will never miss that, he said. As a selectman, and as a resident, I find that pretty disturbing. That money that's in that transportation improvement for the roads, a lot of that is state money that's funded. We more or less just told the state we don't need any funding from them to repair our roads. And we've got Water Street, that's a disaster. We've got other streets in this town that need to be fixed. And I understand there's a time frame and all of that. But to say that it's not going to be missed, I just ask people that when you say things to the media, please don't say we're not going to miss 2 million, because we are, because everybody's watching this door. So if you haven't read this article, read it. There's a lot of people that have been quoted. $2 to include somebody that stated there's mismanagement prior. To all the volunteers that worked on the Board of Finance, worked on the Board of Selectmen, to have somebody say that the town has been mismanaged and there's lack of trust in the town government. There may be lack of trust. There may be things that have been done that other people aren't in agreement with, but I don't think there was any mismanagement by any selectmen in years past. There may never have been enough money to go around in this town because of the drive out there for the 2% and no more. We did that to ourselves when we approved that ordinance. But to say that there's mismanagement, that's pretty harsh, if indeed that's what was said. We don't always have to agree with what's happening, but watch our choice of words, because that can get people in trouble. And as far as that little piece of property, to put my 2 cents in for whatever it's worth, I don't know why we just don't have, and again, that's twice tonight, Jesus, that we can't have whoever is responsible for mowing the ball fields and mowing the park and rec just can't go over and do a quick sweep with the mow. It's all town property, it's all in the best business in town, and the volunteers have done what they're able to do. And now, I believe, if you go back, it's part of the town to take care of it. But I'm sure if you ask somebody that's on that committee, they'll have a copy of that document that the town can't find. So, I would just reach out to those people, just go to the first.
Excuse me, you said the money won't be missing.
I did.
You said that?
I did.
And that was out of the road funds?
Yes.
Actually, 2 million. We still have over 2 million.
So 2 million in the road after the,
Well, that was $2 million in the bond, I guess,
And that's for you guys to handle. I just throw that out there that if I was sitting as a state rep right now, I'd be questioning why I'm giving the town of East Windsor any kind of grant money and any kind of road repair money if we're not going to miss it and we're not going to do it.
Can I just respond to her first point about the Small Cities Block Grant? I have also seen a list in my day job of what, like the naughty towns that have not submitted an up-to-date plan of conservation and development, and there is a freeze on discretionary spending, including grants, certain types of grants, until those towns have, at least until they've submitted their up-to-date POCD. I'm not sure. I was told that we were on it. I haven't seen that. But somebody specifically last week called me to let me know that we were on that list. So I think it is, I think we need to get the POCD done in a hurry to make sure we can get that money. Because the state's going to either be giving it away to somebody else or outright canceling it.
I think somebody from the board should make a motion to get that done.
So there's a process that takes some time to Lori's on medical.
She's coming in on the what, 19th? Our next meeting.
And then the other thing, is there anybody get a copy of the new sign ordinance? Because there's a lot of signs being put up. I'm not sure if they should be up or not this soon.
There is
There's a lot
no
of
new
Trump
sign.
signs.
I don't think there's a new sign ordinance.
You told Jason that it got approved.
It did not.
No, we talked about the sign policy, and Bob was going to check to see if we had actually voted on that. I thought that we had voted to reaffirm the board's position that was stated last year during the election cycle, which was about putting any type of signage on publicly owned property. And there was a Supreme Court decision, was that Reed v. Gilbert, or Guilford, whatever it was. That same decision that allowed, that said that and you can't limit what those signs would say because it's an imposition on speech, or an infringement on speech. So we had a discussion of like 2 months ago, thereabouts, where we reaffirmed the position that the board had taken last year, which was no signage on town property.
So personal property, I can put whatever kind of sign I want.
There's a zoning regulation that I think it's a zoning regulation that restricts that. There's some it's questionable whether or not that also wouldn't be invalidated under the Reed decision. Speech.
Okay, any more? Tom?
I'm telling you, I'm also a member of the American River Heritage Committee. We did have a donation of $200 to the food pantry.
Nice.
So
Thank you for that.
Thanks for the update.
More? Okay.
I'd just like to make clarification for you, correct, next committee is going to, it might be site specific for the people, and it is not a site specific text amendment for the city commission. It is a general text. So, prophesize all you want to, as to where it's going to be or what it's affected. That's not the consideration. Consideration is the text amendment.
Anywhere in that particular zone. right?
Anywhere.
In town? Never heard of that, but thank you.
It's not the going that way, it is, that's the way regulations change.
I was reminded of a bit of good news at the cardboard boat and rubber duck race. I saw Seal Donahue, and I told her that I would help with the putting together of the book that she's putting together, the History of East Windsor, or whatever it's called, and she said it is just about done, if not done. So they were way ahead of the 250th celebration. I guess it's going to the publisher, or she said it's fascinating, so that was excellent news. And I think, Jay, that we have an official extension from OPM on the POCD, so that might be why it's a little gray as to whether we're on that list or not.
So
We have an actual letter from OPM.
I was told we were on the list, but when I looked on the naughty list that is actually on OPM's website, we're not listed,
Yeah,
so
so maybe that's why.
I'm sure. That would be great news. We still need to get it done, but,
Well, ours is done, it isn't ratified, that's all.
well, yeah.
But it's still, until OPM gets it, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not there.
Nobody wants to do it.
But we have an official letter that's on file. It won't ever get found, but it's there.
Good.
Davey Smith, 7 Cobblestone Drive. Bob, you had a meeting with Kenneth last month, and there were no notes taken. And since we have pending litigation of a significant amount, would you care to inform the board and public of the discussion about, since you have no client privilege, attorney-client privilege, because there was no attorney, our town attorney was not there.
I didn't understand what you said.
Meeting with Kenneth,
Meeting with Kevin.
you said there were no notes on the meeting.
That's correct.
Would you care to inform the town members and the board of selectmen what took for discussion during that meeting? Since Kemet, we have an outstanding lawsuit against Kemet for property,
I don't think we wise to discuss it.
but it's public information. We don't have attorney-client privilege because the town attorney was not present for that meeting, was he?
The town attorney was not present for that.
Okay, then does that not board for transparency in town government? For pending litigation? I'd like the
I
board of
have no
selectmen to answer
idea.
that
I
question.
don't
If you
know.
don't want to answer it, then I'll ask the board of selectmen. Have you been informed of that meeting?
No,
No, not officially.
Okay.
Right, right.
Again, in the auspices of transparency in the town government, that's not right. You need to have your attorney there will be present for a lawsuit, especially when it's in excess of $500,000. Make it transparent, take notes. Kind of important to figure that out when we have a lot of money riding on the line. And we're paying these guys a lot of money as well. Oh wait, you don't want to use them because you're denied services. Jason, how come you weren't there for that meeting? You don't need to answer that question.
Why would I have been?
Because you're in charge of the
No. Don't let that misnomer take root. That is not true.
Oh, it isn't?
No.
He just stated it though. You should have it back and forth.
Okay, thank you. Any more public participation? Bill?
Bill Lewis, Melrose Road. Regarding just Fort Rouse Point Fire District. All the meetings were published for people to go attend those meetings, voice their opinion, whether they had a tax or not. One meeting, there were just 40-some people there. They voted for that tax. I don't know why the people over there are upset. They voted for that. Other districts vote for taxes in other districts. There are people at condos, they say they got a hydrant by their house. Well, a lot of people don't have hydrants. You got a hydrant by your house, you get less insurance rating than people that don't have that. 1,000 feet from a hydrant, your insurance rating is less. So they should be glad that they got a hydrant by their house. Same with the fire departments. Fire departments, they respond to fires all over town. And if people in Warehouse Point don't want to pay a little extra, then they shouldn't vote at that meeting. They had plenty of chance to vote at the meeting. The first meeting was in December. We also have a fire marshal over there that they're paying for. We got a town fire marshal. We have a fire marshal, district fire marshals, we have assistants, we have fire inspectors. They're all paying for that. We paid for that before. We were taxpayers paying for those extra. So the people over there, I don't think they have any gripe for the town for paying extra money. They voted for it, let them pay it.
Okay. Any more public participation? Tom?
I just have one comment. I disagree with Steve. I hate to do it to you, Steve. I disagree that, I really think that even though it is a bad area to get out, we need business in town. And you've always preached that we need business in town.
Absolutely.
And I think that we need them. That's a great thing to have. We don't have the infrastructure in town for them to go anywhere else. Either there or Route 5. That's basically where we have the infrastructure for them. So if they're willing to go there, I'm all for it. I would vote yes for that. I mean, I want the business to come to town, and that's a lot of money.
You're talking about the house.
Yes. Calmar, whatever. I try not to use it by name because it's, one I can't remember.
But this is specific. It's out,
Right.
it's been to the public, it's been to the zoning board, so.
But I mean, that's
There's no
a good
secret.
spot. I mean, yes, traffic is not the greatest, but it's still,
May I come up?
Hey,
Clarification, please. You can suppose all the drawers, suppose it is text payment, considered, it is not census.
so text amendment, so in other words, you're changing the text of the zoning. And so it's not, they're asking, I guess Calmar did put it on, asked that the general zoning for the town, the text of that be changed a little bit. And
You don't tell me they don't represent the Greater North Kansas City. So, everybody may suppose that,
yeah,
and everybody may think, yes, that's what's going on. Maybe they move it down to this side. Really? You really can't put it in front. You can't put it in sight. That is,
text.
please come to the meeting, listen to the presentations, and you look for these meetings.
They're up next Tuesday, right?
6:30?
They play opposite us.
Okay, any more public participation?
I move to go into executive session, subject to Connecticut General Statutes 1-206E and 1-210B1, to include the building.
Right, it's good.
Right, as always. I think, I'm not sure. Actually, one right there.
6:59.
I'm hoping that's John.
I saw people that, yeah.
Back there. Oh, that's his fire department bag, the red one. His green one is the historical.
That's just John's bag.
John's briefcase.
Have I told you that
John hit his way.
I don't know, not bad.
Because they're not
Because a
fair.
lot of them were, and they're interested in doing something. Now it's in the budget.
There's always something in the form. As much as I like John.
Cheers. Down property, I'm a resident.
This week.
Hey, it's a committee.
Yeah, he says so now.
Okay.
Here's the difference. We're on different time zones.
Guys, miss one? Should we start the meeting again, or?
Whatever you want to do.
Whenever I do it, it was like 3 before the deadline. So
Was that the map?
either make a call or
No, I'm good, man.
You're good, you don't need a walker?
I don't need a walker. I'll be out running you by the end of the summer.
Take one till you get one that.
What are you gonna look for?
Barbara Hill.
Oh,
I got a nail in the truck, I can hang some old ones up there.
You stole another two that were up.
I did not.
not yet.
You said you were gonna take.
No, I said I want those when they're done.
You said we give it to them.
No, I said, you said you're gonna check on it.
No, we wouldn't do that.
Put that on an affidavit and give it to me, and then I'll be glad to do it.
Okay. Let's start the Board of Selectmen meeting. July 5th, pledge of allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we test, oh, sorry, different meeting.
And everyone is present today. Welcome, Jason.
Nice to be back.
Are there any added agenda items? Jason?
No, actually, you haven't covered with the 250th anniversary. So, I'm good.
Okay. Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting, June 21st, 2016, with a few corrections.
Okay.
Page 3.
Well, let's start, I'll second that, so we can,
Okay.
I'll make a second. Page 2, Jack Manette, legal bills reached 177K annually. My notes show that he had stated that it was 225K. And again, neither one of those figures makes any sense, but that's, I did make a notation of that.
Well, that should be noted then. Okay, any other thing?
I'm good,
Okay.
it's all yours.
On page 3, 1, 2, 3, fourth line up from the bottom, Barber Hill School update. The gentleman's name is Richard Corrado, not Corrado. Sounds the same, but it is. Page 4. East Windsor 250th anniversary. Jason will possibly have to correct me. Second line down, says Selectman Bowser and Bill Time, which I think that's sign, isn't it?
Oh, Tim, Bill Tim, where is he? I just saw
It
walking.
is spelled that way?
THIM.
Well, it's still spelled wrong. T-H-I-M?
Yeah,
T-H-I, okay, well, it's time, so now you're right. And page 5, what do we have? I have something here. Oh, yeah, the motion that I had made on this committee for the Warehouse Point Fire District was 2 members of the Fire Commission, 2 selectmen on the Board of Finance member. And John Vernon was one of the 2 members, not an additional member, which would make it 3.
So we'll cross off John Burrows, is that okay?
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's an easy one.
What page was that one?
Page 5. Second to the left, 2 lines up from the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
The discussion was for 5 members originally, 2 from the Point District, 2 selectmen, and 1 member of the Board of Finance.
And that changed at the special meeting we had, which we'll get into later on,
It hasn't changed at the Board of Selectmen yet.
but it hasn't been charged.
Right. So,
Committee hasn't been charged yet, right?
Okay. Vote, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as amended?
aye.
Abstention?
For communication. I have some communication. Email from Kim Lord to Amanda said, can you please be sure to include this email in the communication section of the next Board of Selectmen meeting? And the email is from Geraldine Corso, and it was dated June 17th, and we did talk about it at the last Board of Selectmen meeting, but I'll read it. It says, Dear Mr. Mayor, at the Board of Finance meeting held on Wednesday, June 15th, 2016, my board passed a motion to direct the committee to ask questions concerning the taxation issue in the Warehouse Point Fire District. As you are aware, the district did not submit a budget for fiscal year 17, instead opting to exercise their taxation power as granted to them by the state legislature. This has created a situation that taxes certain individuals more than others. Rather than go backwards where the fault lies, on the reason that this will occur, I feel we need to move forward. That is why my board has asked that I pen this letter to you and your board. My board has the following questions. Have any discussions between the town and the district occurred since April 1st? If so, who participated in them? Since that email was dated 17th, none had occurred at that time. A lot has occurred since the last week. What options to address the perception of double taxation have been, are being considered by the town and the district? Well, I responded to this email that day, and I said that open to suggestions. And I said that we talk about it at this meeting, and she sent me an email back saying she couldn't attend the meeting. What is the timeline anticipated to employ whatever solution is decided upon? We're going to work on it. And we're going to form a committee tonight to do that. Do we have a guarantee that the solution will be chosen and enacted before the next budget cycle? No guarantee. Is any litigation anticipated as a result of this situation? No, I don't anticipate any litigation. My board respectfully requests answers to the questions in writing prior to our regular July meeting, which is July 20th. Thank you for your attention to these questions. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have. That's an email from Geraldine Corso. Another communication that we received is from AECom, which does the remediation for the Broadwood Mill Center. And they gave, on June 29th, they wrote their bi-monthly report. And the recent activities, they said pretty much the normal things. Monthly site inspections were performed to evaluate general site maintenance, securing fence and site buildings. No signs of trespassing, vandalism, or other significant changes were observed. Monthly utility bills were made by AECom. AECom responded to several alarms systems which were triggered by falling insulation and debris. AECom disconnected the alarm until an upgraded system can be installed. Semi-annual groundwater sampling and annual residential well sampling occurred during the month of June. Preparation and review of the remediation action plan, RAP, amendment continued in May and June. And planned activities for July and August. Monthly site inspections and maintenance will be performed in July and August. Submittal of the RAP addendum to the Connecticut DEP, and the US EPA is anticipated to occur in July. Future remediation, design, and permitting work will require that detailed surveying and detailed hydrology and hydraulics H&H flood study be conducted to determine if there is impact from proposed remediation. The surveying of H&H flood study analysis work is anticipated to commence within the months of July and August. The next bi-monthly progress report summarizing projected activities conducted in July and August will be submitted to the Connecticut DEP and US EPA by the end of August 2016. Also, I received a phone call today from the Blake Group, which is a company in our industrial park that's located at 4 New Park. And they are building an addition to the building, and they wondered if they would qualify for the tax incentive program. So I'm looking into that. There's a minimum amount of money they have to put in, so I just, it's Blake Group. Blake, B-L-A-K-E. They work with water pumps, and water purification.
Is that the company that just left South Windsor?
No,
Yes.
maybe, but they've
Yeah,
been
they
in.
moved, well, have they moved out yet?
No.
They're working, they're the people that revamped the pump stations for the water pollution control down on Mill Street and Scannick Road, among other things.
Their headquarters is now here in this region.
Well, headquarters has been, but they had a store in the
All they have is,
industrial park there next to the electrical supplier in South Windsor.
Commerce.
Commerce.
I think they have several out.
Yeah, they do. They're moving out of that one, they're moving to East Windsor.
So when we discuss whether we get a grant or not.
Well, I'm gonna do some research, I just wanted to bring it up, because actually,
It's got
they
a-
started the construction before we passed the ordinance, so there's some question there, and then again, it has to be large enough to qualify, so I'm gonna do some research. And he said he'd come in and talk to us.
If Fran has an issue to CO, but probably still okay. If he's issued a CO.
He hasn't issued a CO yet, but we'll show. Okay, any more communications?
Did you want to bring up the email that we got from the South Road resident?
Okay. I'm not aware of it, I don't have it with me.
So on the 26th, I'm going to leave out, well, actually, no, I'm not. To whom it may concern, I'm sorry for falling behind on my land lease payments. This deals to the South Road land lease issue that we've been talking about. There is some stuff in here I should not read out loud. There is some stuff pertaining to children's health. But it's in all of our town email. There's the gist of it is that there's a woman who is looking to see if there's some sort of a break that the town can do to accommodate a specific circumstance. So as we're talking about getting that getting all those folks kind of back on the schedule, maybe that's something that we should talk about as well. Did you see the email from her on the 26th?
I did, and it is rather personal.
Yeah.
And I know what you're talking about. I'm not gonna comment.
Yeah, I agree.
Further communications? Okay, hearing none, public participation.
Need to be the first, but. Denise Menard, 73 Miller Road. This statement is to correct a statement made at the last selectmen's meeting by Jack Manette. At that meeting, Mr. Manette stated that prior to 2007, the town's legal expenses were $70,000, and after 2007, they were $250 per year. Now, it sounds like there's some discrepancy as to what the actual amount was that he stated, but I had written down 250, which struck me as a very high amount. I was quite sure Mr. Manette's statement was incorrect, so went on the town's website and found the following information in the town's annual reports and audits. I don't have all the information needed to do a thorough analysis, however, the budgeted and the actual legal costs over the time period Mr. Manette referred to are nowhere near $250,000. My comments: the highest budgeted legal expense, in fact, is the current year. The highest actual, the highest budgeted legal expense is the current year. The highest actual, which is what was actually spent, was 2009 at $228,000. That's the year, if I remember correctly, that the town defended and won a complex federal CHRO, human rights lawsuit that had been ongoing for quite a few years. The following years began a change in the collection of back taxes, which is part of the reason for higher legal expenses, but also the reason for significant increases in income from the collection of back taxes. The outlier year, and there's a chart here of all the numbers that I'm quoting. The outlier year with actual legal expenses of $98,000, again, if I recall correctly, is the year the town won an ongoing lawsuit brought against the town by Selectman Dearborn. As part of the settlement of that suit, Mr. Dearborn was ordered to reimburse a significant amount of the town's legal expenses, which lowered the town's actual legal expenses for that year. Let me again stress that I am not representing the numbers below as a thorough analysis of the legal expenses Mr. Manette spoke of at the last meeting, but they are what is actually in official town documents available to anyone online, and they are far from what Mr. Manette stated. I'm also not representing that the increase in taxes collected year over year is due solely to back taxes. What goes into the tax collection numbers is more complex than that. I do, however, clearly recall that there have been a number of years when hundreds of thousands of dollars to over $1 million in back taxes were collected in the recent past. Again, you have the chart here, and thank you for your time, Denise Menard. I only have one copy, so
Would you make a copy of it to Denise? She's
maybe she can make copies for everybody?
writing like a mad person. I don't know if she got
That
it
way
all.
you got this. Okay.
Thank you.
Any more public participation?
Tom Talamy, 23 Rice Road. This mill site, are we still having a meeting? They still set up that meeting with the town?
Yeah,
In what month?
they hope the end of August, that's what they're shooting for. At the end of, June, they sent this RAP, or remediation plan, to the UTC for comments, because that's who owns the property. And once the comments were done, now they're sending it to the Connecticut Department, Connecticut DEP, and then the US EPA. So, and then when that is done, and the two federal and state agencies approve it, then they'll present it to us at the end of August. That's their plan.
All right. My only other comment is, I mean, you know, if it's setting off the alarm and we disconnect the alarm, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the
Yeah, I
alarm.
thought it was rather humorous too.
I mean, the alarm is there for a reason, so we're setting off the alarm, but let's solve the problem maybe.
I'll give him a call.
Not to disconnect the alarm.
I do that in my car all the time.
Well,
Yeah, you're right. Any more public participation? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished business. First item is 9B, Barbara Hill School update. Anybody want to speak about that?
So I had a conversation this afternoon with Josh Hawks Labs about the, trying to get the release of the deed restrictions from the title insurance company. And Josh has spoken with one of his real estate experts, and if the town is willing to move forward, as long as we have releases from the abutting property owners, not necessarily, well, there's a possibility that we don't need all of the subdivision property owners to sign off on this. As was reported, I think, at the last meeting, there are 3 holdouts. One that wanted more time to think about it, one that we haven't been able to get a hold of, and one that wasn't particularly inclined to be supportive. But of the abutting property owners, all of them have signed off with no problem or hesitation whatsoever. So if the town is interested, then Josh can have Brian go back to the title insurance company and say, we have the abutting property owners, does this allow us to get a clean title? And in which case the process that has been outlined before would be able to move forward. I stole from John the map of the subdivision, and the properties that we're missing are nowhere near where the actual site is. So if we're, as a body, inclined to try and move forward, we can start moving that process tomorrow.
Okay, hearing that, I'd entertain a motion to move forward.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Discussed already, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay.
So just as a caveat, the title insurance company may not say yes,
Yes,
but we're a little bit more confident that we have at least what we need. It would be great if we could get the other 3 and have everybody, you know, T's crossed, I's dotted and all that. But just that we have the surrounding and abutting property owners may be sufficient in order to move the project forward, which is actually better news than I had hoped for. So I just want that to be clear, that this is not a guarantee that yes, this will happen, but it's, we think we have enough to at least ask the question.
okay.
One more piece of information. Got a call today from Lori Gabriel. Evidently, Bob Jagris is supposed to be sending the document to us on his part. So that's still,
That'd be great.
I'm saying, is he's the original owner of the property. So that's a step in the right direction.
Do we have any idea where in transit that may be? I know it was routed through a couple of different channels, but,
So I just got my email, I just got the text today.
okay.
Yeah, we should try and get this moving so they can
Yep.
get it done before the snow flies.
We've been trying to get it moving, but we're now moving it.
Before the tobacco shed starts moving even.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, the Barber Hill Schoolhouse will take precedence.
Yeah, that's what I figured, it's still standing in the shed, so you could.
There's lots of sheds, there's only one schoolhouse.
Right.
Okay.
Made and seconded, isn't it?
It's made and seconded. If there's no more discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on to landscaping. I'll just make a comment on that, is we're still looking for somebody to mow the grass at the skate park. So if anybody knows anybody who would mow it, let me know. At the skate park.
This is state park.
Sure.
The last time we discussed this, are we supposed to get the agreement between them and the town to say who's in charge of doing all that?
Right, and we can't find it.
Can't find an agreement. So who holds the insurance policy on that property? If a kid breaks his neck while he's doing
Town.
his flips over there, who would-
Yes, the town does.
So,
We
so they
go-
did not have, like with the dog park, it's the same deal.
Yeah.
They don't have a certificate of insurance that, so we're responsible for all of it.
Insurance policy covers it.
You can't let it get into the dilapidated state.
There's somebody mowed it, I saw somebody pull in there, I think it was, the guy, I think the guy over on Dave, on Rice Road.
Pete Larry's.
People raise-
Yeah, I think he did, I think it was him that was in there mowed it, Dave, one day, saw him in there. But I mean, it's such a small parcel, I don't understand why, you're doing this park across the way, why can't they just go across the street?
And the only, I talked to Lynn, and he says, right now, they're looking actually for seasonal part-time help. So they can be high school students, really. So if anybody knows anybody who wants part-time help, call up to Public Works, and that would help out.
Everybody put it in
I
jail.
bet they can't be high school students though,
Well,
Yeah, they
because
can.
they gotta be 18.
Well,
Yeah, they
no,
can
but-
still be a high school
Well,
student.
well, okay,
That'd be
actually, I talked to Lenny about that, and he says for certain heavy equipment, they have to be over 18, but to run a lawnmower or a weed whacker, they don't. That's what Lenny said.
Hazardous material.
Well,
Yeah,
those
the
that's
answer-
what I don't know.
Are they posted on town website?
I don't know that either.
They should be. It's an
Every
open,
report.
it's like it's not posted.
I'll double check. Unless you're in something.
It's just something so minor.
Do we have a lease with the grants yet?
Yes,
Was that reviewed by council?
no,
So who wrote it?
me.
So that looks an awful lot like a lease that we would generally have reviewed by the Attorney General's office when we lease or purchase property through the state.
Yeah.
Are we sure our Ts are crossed and our Is are dotted there?
Well, paying them $9 a year. No, $9 a year for 9 years. I think it's gonna work, Jason. If you wanna review it, you can review it. We can have them sign it again.
I'm just,
No, we didn't, it's not a problem.
I don't know what happens when it turns out that if we don't have a valid executed lease and we are on their property and break something, or a town employee or whoever's mowing that hurts themselves, or I'm just thinking about the protection aspect of things.
Jason, you're in charge of legal affairs, so go for it.
They have to pay the attorney $1,000 for $1 a year lease.
I'll be happy to give you the lease, and I've got copies of it, so it's not a problem.
You're going too far here with this. Wasting money.
When a lawsuit hits you for $1 million, you won't think that $1,000 was money foolishly spent.
It's too big of a problem. Too
Actually-
many West Worths and Fourth West, and he probably tell us to get the sign off his property.
Well, listen,
That's the other problem.
I modeled it after the Scout Hall lease. They were $1 a year too. Okay, any more discussion on landscape? Okay, 250th anniversary. Anybody want to comment on that?
So we went to a kind of a pre-planning meeting to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the town of East Windsor last Thursday. The meeting was last Thursday, not the anniversary date. There were a lot of people that were there. It was just from the Board of Selectmen, it was Bob, Dick, and myself, and about 15 other people, which was, I thought, a really encouraging first step. Bob and I and Bill Tim had gone to, Tim? I'm sorry, I have a very hard time with that. We had gone to Tolland a few weeks back to kind of pick their brain about what had worked well for them at their very recent 300 commemoration and came up with some good notes. And we started last week kind of throwing a bunch of stuff out on the metaphorical table and trying to find a starting point. And it was agreed to by that group that we had one first choice to make, which was whether or not we're going to be incorporated as part of the town. There are advantages to that and there are disadvantages to that. But the group unanimously thought that it would be in that group's interests and in the commemoration's interests to be affiliated with the town. So what we'll need to do is kind of flush out as a board here what our thoughts are for what the charge of that body would be, what the composition would be, and then we can start soliciting applications for membership of that committee and formally incorporate it at our next selectmen's meeting. So just, and this is going to be a little bit of a rehash for 3 of the 5 of us, but we threw a bunch of things on the table, and just so that we can move in an official capacity in the right direction, we kind of have to go through that again. So the first thing that we had talked about was an end date, and the committee can't last more than 18 months, but it can be renewed. Yep.
And I know you passed out this.
Yes.
And Josh Hawkland, I believe, talks quite in detail about what he calls the East Windsor Fire Protection Services Committee, which really should just be the Fire Protection Committee. And then he doesn't talk about the 250th anniversary. He said he doesn't have enough information.
That's correct. And